on, smile. It's supposed to be friendly.
Have we started? Okay. Hello, my little YouTube bunnies and my little darling Deborah. I'm Ioannis, and here we are at Conversations with Deborah Ioannis.
And I'm Deborah.
She's Deborah, and this is our friendly little chat about stuff that's going on. And our first, well, it may not be our first one. Who knows what order they're going to come out in?
Yeah.
This podcast is a go
on. And we're feeling our way. So this is all very new to us.
Oh yeah, we're not experienced podcasters. Oh no. So anyway, the title of this one is "How do you keep your peace considering the events of the past 2 years?" Now we are going in deep, but we're going to try and keep it light and deep and light and deep.
Yeah.
So if it's too deep, go in the comments. Too deep. Too light? No, it's never going to be too light. Anyway, let's kick off. I've got to change screens. Here we go, back to there. And isn't she beautiful? There we are.
That's what I like about doing podcasts with you. You're great for my 3D ego.
Well, yeah, this is a big ego event generally. You're putting yourself out on the wires. Yeah. But anyway, darling, how do you keep the peace with considering what's happened? And look, we've spoken about this so much because everybody that's listening, I guess you've all gone through this in the past 2.5 years and gone, what the hell has just happened? What is going on? How is the world so different? What help? So
yeah, for me, it's looking back over the last 3 years and the lockdowns and everything else that's been going on around me. I think it was a case of, I took this time and this opportunity to better understand who and what I am. So if I didn't have that, and I didn't go within and kind of like educate myself, then I could have got involved or caught up in all the hysteria, and many people are struggling out there. So for me, it was a case of finding myself and going within. And really, for the first time in my life, outside of my faith, and because I come from a Christian background, I relied on myself and the power within. And so that was me overcoming the last three years of challenges. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's similar. It's funny because I think part of the plan of this whole thing was to to rob us of rights and to enrich the already rich even further. But the despair when people, like when you became to vax or not to vax, and you had these lines of demarcation, they made it all more difficult. But I agree with you. It really was an opportunity to look at your values, to look at your spirituality, and almost go deeper. I mean, I isolated myself quite a bit because I found the whole thing, the noise was just, there was something wrong with the whole thing. From the very start, I went, hang on, this doesn't make any sense. And luckily, I'm old enough to come from an education system where we were taught to think stuff through. And I would go, well, hang on, that doesn't make any sense. And it's just more and more, the more it didn't make sense, the more I got suspicious. And the more I got suspicious, the more I found things that didn't make sense. And it kind of led to, I had to shut out. Otherwise, I was either going to be a raving lunatic or, top myself or end up a drunk. I don't know any of those.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying, because a lot of people, I think there was this great divide, because there were these great thinkers, and there were those that had been taught to question everything. And I can definitely see part of the struggle was the divide that took place. And so, yeah, I think it's a huge challenge, and getting back to the thing of peace amongst all the chaos, because we do know about the chaos, we do know what's taken place, but how do we deal with all of this that's taken place from a spiritual, like being spiritual beings? We can get caught up. I did sometimes get caught up in the politics of what we were going through.
Yeah.
Whether it was right wing, left wing, center, you do get caught up. And the thing is, as a light being, or as somebody that understands their power within, how do you stay out of the chaos, and how do you keep that peace? And I think that's where a lot of people find themselves at now. Relationships have splintered. There has been, families are not speaking to each other because one did something and the other didn't do it, in terms of, I don't know how much we can say on YouTube, so I'm choosing my words very carefully. But, whether you did or whether you didn't, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because it's your personal journey. It's your journey. It's your personal choices and preferences. But we have to live in this greater world, in this greater community.
Yeah.
And how do we find peace amongst our friends, our families, our colleagues at work, and things like that? And I think that is really important, that we actually focus on that today.
Well, you and I have both had the situation where our families we've come to issues with our families because they've gone one way and we've gone the other.
Yes.
And it causes immeasurable pain, and when you learn about stuff that you go, oh my God, what have they done? And you feel the despair of it, and you just go, and there's a lot of advice from the Ascended Masters about this, but I kept thinking about my Taoist learnings, and one of the main tenets very early on is let externals take care of themselves. So in a way, to try and keep my peace, I had to switch it all off. I don't have a television. I don't read any newspapers. When people tell me what's going on, I go, oh, is it? I don't care about the rising prices. I don't engage with the machinations of the bigger societal, industrial, military complex. I just don't engage with all that thing. So by staying out of it, I just go, whatever it is, I just go and pay. Now, you can say, well, everything's going up. You should, what am I going to, by worrying about it, all I'm doing is attracting that energy to myself. I believe in the universal laws, law of attraction, law of assumption, law of reciprocity. If I get engaged with any of that, then it just throws my peace. And I don't want my peace. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that is key, because I did the same thing. I also turned off the TV and the newspapers, and try to distance myself, bubble myself in positivity. So I very early on, I thought, well, I can get involved in this negativity. I can get involved with all of this. What happens is that you focus on that negativity. And so you start to create and contribute to that frequency. And so for me, vibrating at a positive, higher frequency was really key. And so I knew that I had to focus on something that was positive instead of contributing to the negative. And that's basically, for me, a lot of the times. I don't say that I always was able to do that. often I, felt myself falling back into this whole discussion and getting upset and discouraged and, getting involved in the animosity and everything else that went with it. But then for me, I could go into my heart and center again, and then start to process and focus on something positive that I could create. And instead of moving towards the negative, I found myself moving towards the positive and focusing on that. And that brought me a lot of joy and a lot of peace. Did I sometimes slip back? Do I still slip back? Yes, I do. And I have to refocus. I don't know how.
Well, it's how you hold the light.
Yeah.
The more you stay in positive vibration, the more you're going to be resonating at that vibration, and the more people you're going to bring with you, because they'll feel that vibration. If you go into the complaint corner, then all you're going to get. Look, the universal laws are pretty straightforward. The law of attraction says, whatever you're dwelling on, whatever your mind dwells on, so you will attract. If you're dwelling on everything that's going wrong, maybe the pandemic and maybe the problems are kept going because everybody's focusing on them. Yes. If you forget they exist, well, how different would your life be? Yes. Stuff just is. You just pay. Don't think about it. I live in abundance. God will always provide. The universe will always provide for me. I've got plenty of money. Don't worry about any of that. Just pay. And will the bigger picture shift because of my conscious creation of everything's okay? Because let's say that the law of assumption is assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If I feel in scarcity or lack, all I'm going to attract is more scarcity and lack. I'm not going to ever attract abundance.
It's
and
like
I read a.
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
It's
no,
like
I was just going to say that. And now let me just finish the point.
We're going to have to get a light. You talk. I talk.
I stay away from social media, but do dip in. Like Deborah says, we go in, you get pulled in, and you get sucked into Twitter and go, oh, I'm going to think about that one, But I read one meme
you do. Yeah,
that got me thinking, and it said, if you believe the government is trying to protect you, but big pharma want to cure you, and the media never lie to you, you're in trouble. And I just remind myself of those things, because we know the government now is run by corporate interests, not the interest of the people. And we know that big pharma is a profit-making organization, and who would take health advice from someone who makes money from you being sick? And we know
most people do.
And we know that the media now are completely bought and paid for. They're sponsored by big pharma, particularly in the US, and a lot of them are paid billion. I mean, we can see it. There's evidence of it that they're paid to deliver the government line, and the government is controlled by the lobbyists and corporate interests. So anyway, to get out of politics for a second, but when I realized all that, I went, well, count me out of anything they say. So you've got to go, I just don't believe you guys anymore. I trusted you. We've had progress for 50 years, and there's more poverty than ever before. The houses are more expensive than they've ever been. People are struggling to pay their heating, and we trusted you with all this stuff. We've got more resources than you could ever poke a stick at. The whole place is brimming with light and energy, and look what you've done. You've enriched a handful of your mates, and the rest of us are feeding on the scraps. Sorry.
Okay, I better put the light on, because I don't know how much we're going to get away with on YouTube. But in any case,
I've done my rant. I had my soapbox out.
Ioannis can get on his soapbox, so I've got to bring him back. Peace, peace, peace. I'm sending you a lot of light. For me, it's a case of, we can get involved in all of this stuff. But, because of my spiritual self and my journey, I realized that this is a journey. So, everything that I'm experiencing within this chaos is part of my journey. So I can either get involved with it, or sometimes I look at something that I see and I know it's like BS. And then I say to myself, okay, so the masses or the majority believe this. So what's the lesson in this for me? You know, everything in life, whether it's positive or negative, I always ask that question from my heart center. What is this? You know, what is the lesson in this? Whether I like it, whether I don't, whether I'm dealing with it in a positive or a negative way, I need to experience that thing. And I need to say, so I need to experience this chaos. And I'm asking, what is this lesson for me? And when I understand what the lesson is, as part of this journey, I can send it back to source with love, just vibrate in love with all of these things, send it back to source, and then find my peace within. And I think that is so key, that we actually step back from whatever it is we're experiencing in this chaos, whether it's a conflict with a family member because of, you know, their opinions differ from us or whatever. Step back and look at it from the outside in, and make sure that you find a place, almost like you counseling yourself. And that's how I've dealt with it. Because like you, I'm quite hot-headed, you know, and I'm very strong and opinionated. And so
Me, hot-headed.
And so I can get into a conflict situation very quickly. And I think with a bit of age has come wisdom. And so I think a great part of that journey is to actually step outside and look, you know, as a third party, because you have that ability as a light being, as an evolved being. And look and give yourself advice. You know, look at what you're reacting to and why you're reacting to it, and what is your truth, and then give yourself advice on this, and deal with it that way. You know, like almost like you're dealing with a friend. You know,
I need water. Hang on, keep going.
Okay. So he's gone to get water. So yeah, I think it's very important that we actually understand or understand a lot of this about ourselves. And then the peace, you know, if you can go to a place of joy, peace naturally follows. That's what I've found.
Yeah, and I find when we're talking about keeping your peace, I find maxims and sayings help me to just get the big picture just brought down. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, it's 6:30 a.m. and my body's still just waking up. And one of my favorites is as Deborah said, about engaging with members of the family and people online and what have you, and getting into these kind of rows, which are just only continuing this conversation, the narrative.
Yeah.
But there's a great saying that was used in a Rod Stewart album: a nod's as good as a wink to a blind horse.
Okay. Yeah.
You can talk all you want to some people, everybody, and they're not going to change their minds. It's just save your energy, save your heart, because everyone's chosen this has been an extremely divisive time, as you'll all agree, and everyone's chosen their route.
And they are entitled to choose.
Of course, I'm not saying they shouldn't, but
yes.
All I'm just saying is you're not going to shift somebody in. Yeah, but you're not going to shift someone on topics so big by your conversation with them. I've found
on Twitter.
You know,
on Twitter.
Excuse me, on another call.
Twitters of everyone. And I've had tremendous growth in the last 2-3 years through all this chaos. I've gone to a different level. I've had tremendous growth. I'm a totally different person with totally different beliefs and views. And that's taken work, you know, inner work, and going inside and discovering myself. And so I'm incredibly grateful for all these lessons through this stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. That's a place to be. Like everything's perfect in one sense, because I've done more work in the last 3 years than and I've been in a dark place, a very, very dark hole. It's kind of sent me down, very deep down, and then I had to climb my way up. And as Deborah says, you have to do the inner work. You don't just turn a page on a book and go, oh, everything's okay now.
Peace.
Oh, peace. I found, thank God I listened to this.
Sign on your car and you have peace.
Thank God I listened to this person. I'm okay now. We're talking to you, so we're part of that story, but we're just talking in the way that this is how it worked for us.
Yes.
And if that helps you get, oh, well, I'll try that idea. Definitely for us, serving has helped. Yes. This idea of what we're doing to help others has helped us, because as we hold the light, and as we hope others will hold the light, there's more light holders. There is no dark switch. Dark only comes in at the absence of light. So we can't let these, and I say dark forces because it's not that scary, but there's a narrative that's quite scary and fearful out there. And and if you sat down and thought about everything that's happened, you could go, oh my God.
And I think the key word there is fear. One of the things that I have seen and learned over the last 3 years is that this whole thing has been a huge personal experience for me in terms of observing other people's fear and how certain things create that fear and amplify that fear and amplify their negative beliefs. And so that was a huge thing for me. Fear, somebody said to me a few years ago, you come to earth, you come here, you embody, you born, whatever it is that you believe, and you have two options. You have love or you have fear, and everything else comes off that. And that has been really huge for me, because I've seen people vibrating at love and finding peace, joy and peace, and people vibrating at fear. And the whole world is collapsing, and they are totally in this whole frequency of chaos. They've bought into everything. And so I think a very big thing is understanding that you choose love or you choose fear. And then you do the work to make sure that your journey collides with one of those. And so that's been really, really an awakening for me. I've gone out and I've seen people masked up, and behind their eyes, or those eyes sticking out over that mask, have been just pure fear. And in that, there was a huge message for me. And I am constantly just sending those people so much love, because the experience of those eyes have been a huge learning curve and lesson for me. So, that's...
Well, I think we kind of said it all. I'll summarize my thing. I really think that I'm grateful for this past 3 years, which I know is weird, and everyone's going to think, well, he's crazy. But I'm grateful because...
I put my hand up to that.
No, I'm grateful because it helped me find Deborah. It helped me find my way, a better way for my being to be. It helped me develop my relationship with the Ascended Masters and the great mystery, the greater thing, because I had to look inside, really look deep inside, and deal with some of the fears and darkness that was being put out by the people that were meant to be looking after us and healing us and giving us information. And when they all let me down, I've got to say, I didn't ever have too much count on them, but it was just such a complete abject failure of the entire system to protect us, and they were throwing us to the wolves, I felt. But the other thing is, switch everything off. Just don't pay any attention to what's going on. It's worked for me terribly well. I have a little happy life now. I just bounce along with my dog. I don't even know what's going on. I don't care what's going on. And listen to the law of the universal laws.
And eat grapes.
Eat grapes. But Lord, I moved to a Greek island because I was sick of the noise, and I'm in a very isolated little village of 130 people. And anyway, but the law of attraction, if you think about stuff, you'll attract it. The law of assumption, you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If you want a better world and you want a happier place, you've got to feel like you're in a happier place and we're in a better world. And the law of reciprocity, you have to give to get. So if you want to get a better life or more abundance, you have to start giving and serving. And they're my tips for a peaceful life in this chaotic world. What are yours, darling?
And for me, it's basically, I think, trust yourself. Go inside, listen to yourself, trust yourself. If it doesn't feel right, if the voices are going off, take some time, go and sit on a beach, find a quiet space and talk to yourself. It might sound crazy, but you'll be amazed at what happens when you learn to listen to yourself, trust your intuition, and love yourself.
Very much.
You get tremendous when you start to love and flow in love. You find such amazing peace. So that's it for me. And
forgive yourself. If you've made mistakes, and we all have, you've got to forgive yourself. We are meant to screw up. Mistakes are our classroom, everybody. Mistakes are our classroom. You've not done anything wrong. It's just
the bumps on the journey. It's the bumps.
It's the journey. It's the journey. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Anyway, love and gratitude to all of you. Love and gratitude to Deborah.
Send you lots of love.
Lots of love.
Lots of love. Yeah.
So please comment below and share and press the notification bell so that you get all our latest podcasts. Yeah. And we're really grateful for every minute you've given us.
And we'd love some feedback. Truly, just take a little bit of time and give us some feedback and tell us if anything resonates with you or if you learned something. That's why we're doing this. Me especially, because I'm not a YouTube and I hate the camera. No, I don't hate the camera, but yeah. I actually love the camera. I'm sending you lots of love, camera. Okay. Yes. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.